I must admit you're a brave soul. I know that you are dealing with some struggles you're battling, and I admire you, sir. And I think that the world needs to hear your story. I don't want to take any more of that time up. I just kind of want to go ahead and let you get into it. How did the world of addiction get a hold of you? How did it start?
At the start, I'm gonna say I was probably somewhere around 17, 18 years old, where I had my first experiment with marijuana back when I was working my first job at a fast food restaurant. It was one night after our shift, and so I had it, and I went ahead and joined the group that was smoking it, and that basically led me to, I would say, kind of the party lifestyle where you had a release from the stresses of high school, trying to find your first job, which eventually led to underage drinking and partying every weekend. Was something that basically really took over my life, where it wasn't just every weekend anymore. It was during school, during the day, during the week. Everyone kind of led like going to school, waiting for Friday night. Well, Friday night was my Monday morning. Going to school with a apple juice bottle full of whiskey and getting through the day with that. I had issues with being kind of self-conscious, I guess, where I felt like I didn't fit in. With that trait in me, I felt more social, more accepted to the group. The first time that was kind of an eye-opener for some people I was hanging out with was we were throwing a football out on the road, and someone asked if they could have a drink of my apple juice, and I kind of jokingly said, "Yeah, go ahead, but it's not apple juice." And as was, "Oh my God, Brandon's drinking right now." It was like a Wednesday evening, but you guys just hanging out after school, throwing around the football. Yeah, basically, I didn't think I had a problem. I thought it was more like the party. There was many parties with blackouts, me being thrown out, me, to be honest, me pissing myself in a blackout in someone's kitchen, like, and then waking up 5 hours later outside the house in their front lawn because they had thrown you out of the party. People for years told me that I needed to get help. And when I say years, I mean from the time I was 17, 18 to the point where I was 21 when I finally decided that I wanted to go to rehab. Now, the reason why I went to rehab when I was 21 really wasn't because I chose to. It was because I was working a job where I was drinking every day, and they never once said that they caught me, but I'm pretty sure that they had figured it out, that I was doing something to alter my mood as the day went on. And one of the union reps had come to me, and basically after they had said, "You're pretty much fired unless you come up with a reason as to what's going on," one of the union reps had come to me and said, "Do you have a problem?" And I'm sitting there in front of the computer taking up this bullshit story with a bottle of whiskey sitting next to me, which when she spoke to me brought me to tears, and I was like, "Yeah, I do." So at that point, to cover myself and keep my job at that point, I went in the next day and told them I had a problem, and I was sent off to rehab. I was sent off to a place in Kingston called Harbor Light, and I was there for 60 days. And I went in there thinking that I had a problem with alcohol, and I needed to solve the problem of alcohol. Not to mention that I was smoking marijuana on a daily basis as well, but I didn't think that that was an issue. That wasn't what was causing me to be blacked out. That wasn't causing me not to function. I'm sure it was part of it. It was definitely part of the mixture I was putting into myself, but I didn't think that was the issue. I went there to stop drinking. So I went there. That was an eye opener being, well, turning 21 in the rehab facility with, I think it was like 16 other gentlemen. Some of them Well, all of them were older than me. Some of them were from prison and early release due to a recovery program. Some of them were just there because they wanted to be. Some of them had been in and out of rehab before. I remember one guy, which really shocked me. He was living in a tent, and he had been into 10 different rehab facilities. Didn't have contact with his kids, didn't have contact with his family, and I just didn't want to be that guy. So it really opened my eyes as to what alcohol can do, not thinking about the other drugs like the marijuana, or sometimes on the weekend before 2 hours of rehab, I would be doing MDMA, which is like the purest form of ecstasy, at concerts, with friends and that was obviously not a good thing either. But again, I didn't take that a problem with that because that was only 2 or 3 times a year, maybe. But yeah, I came out of rehab. I finished the program. It came out, and I felt good. They were leery to even take me in with my young age because of the chance, or I guess percentage of relapse with younger age people going into a recovery program. But I did it. I came out, and I was sober, and I was happy to be sober from alcohol. The day that I came out, we went over to my buddy's house, and a few friends came over, and what's the first thing that we do is we roll up a joint, and I'm like, okay, I can still function as a member of society. I'm not acting stupid. I'm not hungover from this. I can do this. And slowly again, that crept up and became an everyday thing over a period of almost 9 years. It was almost 9 years that I refrained from alcohol. Smoking marijuana every day. And when I say every day, I mean 2 or 3 times in the morning before work, on my lunch break, and then after work until the time I went to bed. And yeah, during these 9 years, I mean, I accomplished a lot. I got my mechanics license. I'm a licensed mechanic. I graduated top 3 in my class with honors. Was able to do all that stuff while still smoking marijuana every day. And as my career developed, I became very good at what I was doing. But I always had that, I had to be hot. I had to be smoking weed in the morning to get myself going, to get myself ready to concentrate, to work on whatever car, whatever job I was doing. Lunchtime, I had to go do it. If I didn't do it, I was grumpy. I was pissed off. And that led me to connecting with an older friend who was a drug dealer, who was dealing cocaine and also liked to smoke his weed. And I mean, it's an expensive thing, to be honest, to smoking weed every day, even not that I was smoking. But I basically became his driver. Never tested cocaine, but he was supplying me with marijuana on a daily basis. And when I finished work, I would be his driver for the night. And we became friends. We were good friends. I would say we were almost brothers. But that definitely led me down a wrong path where I started trying other things. I started trying liquid tea. I started trying Percocets and Tylenol 3s, but I wasn't drinking. So I considered myself to be sober, although really I was. Over those years, and those years, honestly, I want to say they're almost a blur because of the amount of marijuana that I was smoking, that it's hard for me to remember everything that happened during those years. But those were the main things that happened, aside from there was one night where I was high on liquid tea he had opened up a restaurant, and I was mopping the floor, and I slipped, and I broke my right leg in 2 places, so that had to be rebuilt. But yeah, I really didn't think there was an issue. I spent 3 months recovering, and just went back to my daily routine of smoking weed every day, hanging out with him, doing the night runs. And at that point, I guess I was basically introduced to the drug community, how it all works, from the supplier, the delivery, the selling, everything. And there's not a lot that I really haven't seen. But it got to a point where it comes to me relapsing with alcohol, approximately after 9 years of being sober from the alcohol. And that was one day I went to school. I'm constantly at school as a mechanic, and got out of school early. I came home to the house I was living in with my girlfriend at the time. She drank, she smoked, and there was a bottle in the fridge. And I had dishes to do. And basically, I just decided I don't want to do the dishes, but I bet that would make the dishes that much more fun, easier to do. So I had a drink, and the drink wasn't a drink. It was basically where I left off before, that within about an hour, that bottle was dark. And that carried on with me still working, and basically now drinking every day, to the point that I transferred jobs with my manager at the time. I followed him to another location, and I was having to drink basically a water bottle full of vodka in the morning just to get going. And come lunchtime, I'm working under a car with my hands just shaking like this, that I'm trying to put a transmission back together, and I need alcohol to function. So come lunchtime, I'm going to the store and I'm buying more just to get me through my shift. And it just became a complete repetitive process that really I couldn't handle. I got fired from that job. I lost that girlfriend, but still I continued to drink. I needed that. I felt like I was more social and a better person when I was drinking, even though I wasn't. But at that point too, I needed it to function. I needed it to get out of bed. Without it, the withdrawals were just insane. And I ended up getting some other mechanics jobs here and there, but I was that mechanic with a whiskey bottle in the toolbox, or a vodka bottle out in the car, and treating it on a daily basis, to the point that I ended up losing a bunch more jobs, which led to me starting to work for a landscape company, a landscape snow removal company. And it came to the point that I had a 710 milliliter bottle of vodka in the snowplow every night. I was drinking that while I was out driving the snowplow, which led to me actually having my first seizure in the snowplow. Thank God I wasn't driving. I was parked in a parking lot at a school while some of the team was out shoveling the sidewalks. And they came back to the truck and I was having a seizure. So that's what was the start of probably me finding my way to my rock bottom. This was about 3 years ago. So I had that seizure. I ended up losing my driver's license, which I should have lost my driver's license a long time ago. I never got pulled over for DUI. I never had any of that stuff happen. I never killed anyone while I was driving or anything like that. But lost my driver's license, had to find another job to support myself. I did find another job, and thank God my dad was there to pick me up and drive me to work every day. And I managed to stay sober for about 6 months that time. And when I say sober, I mean it's sober. No weed, no nothing. The day my driver's license came back, what did I do? I went right to that liquor store because I had the ability to. I mean, I had the ability to before. I could have taken a cab, I could have done anything like that, but I had the freedom that I could go and do it, and I could get to and from where I wanted to go with the vehicle. And that led me right back to where I was before. Drinking every day, again, having to have a water bottle full of vodka just to get going in the morning, show up to work. Eventually, they caught on that something was going on, and they said, yeah, I've got a problem. and I need to go get help. So they were nice enough to help me out, send me to rehab for the second time in my life. It was a place called Bellwood in Toronto, where I did 8 weeks of recovery there. Now, mind you, leading up to this rehab, I had been kicked out of the place that I was living. I was living in a hotel, and there was an incident where my parents came and found me at the hotel, and it ended up turning into a fight between me and my father, where I punched, dented, kicked the crap out of his 2-day-old brand new truck, punched him in the face. He was bleeding from his head. I was arrested. I was charged with mischief and assault. I was on a peace bond I wasn't on a peace bond. I was on a no contact order with my parents. Had nowhere to go, nowhere to live. I had gone to a homeless shelter. My grandparents eventually took me in, but I was still leading up to rehab, drinking every day. My grandfather drove me to rehab, and I had a water bottle full of vodka on the drive to rehab. I went into that rehab facility with one of the highest blood alcohol levels they had seen in a long time. And again, I completed it. I wanted to get sober. I knew I had a problem, but the day that I came out, again, get in my car, go to pick up a prescription. The prescription was going to take about 20 minutes to fill, and then there's a liquor store right across the street. So the day I went into rehab, I was drinking, and the day that I came out, I went to the liquor store and jumped right back onto that bandwagon. And at this point, I was drinking almost a 60-ounce bottle a day, if not more, which eventually, after rehab, I got myself an apartment. I was drinking every day, and having my own apartment, my own freedom, led to, I don't know, I'm going to say about 2 months into me having my own apartment of constant parties, constant random people coming over, out addicts, drug dealers, escorts that I had hired to come over, not necessarily for sexual activities, more for companionship, to have someone to talk to and hang out with, because I didn't have that anymore. Over the years, I'd lost all my friends. No one wanted to hang out with me. I was the drunk, drug addicted, drug dealing, even though I wasn't really dealing, I was just driving, person that no one wanted to be around. And over those 2 months, I went through about $40,000 out of my retirement plan that I had built up. And to this day, I still don't know where they found me. The story's fishy because of these random people that I had coming over. I don't know if I was found in my driveway or if they just called the ambulance and I was in the house. The story I was first told was I was found in the driveway. I think they brought me back into the house for when the ambulance arrived, but I was passed out. I have no recollection of it. I ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks with hepatitis of the liver. The first day in the hospital, I don't remember any of it. I went in there on a Tuesday morning. I opened my eyes sometime around Wednesday afternoon, seeing my dad, and my dad was asking if I knew who he was, because apparently the day before, I was awake enough to talk to him, but he knew there was no one there. And the doctors had called my parents because they didn't know if I was going to wake up. They basically said there was a 50-50 chance of me waking up. So it was a rough go. I woke up. I had an IV in my neck. I had a feeding tube through my nose. I had 2 IVs in my one arm. I had a catheter in, and I was in a diaper. And I basically stayed in that state where I could not move from that bed for 16 or 17 days when they finally released me. When they finally released me, I had had 2 seizures in the hospital. I had to learn how to walk again. I couldn't walk. I spent about a week learning to walk again with a walker, but that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough to stop me. I was there on my deathbed with doctors not knowing if I was going to wake up. Couldn't get out of the bed to go to the bathroom if I had to. I had nurses younger than me. I'm 35 years old. Younger than me, changing my diaper on a daily basis. I couldn't control my bowels, so sometimes it was every hour. I was trying to call these doctors to change my diaper, and sometimes it was 20 minutes that I had to lay in that bed of my own shit because they were busy with other stuff, and here's this guy that's killing himself, and probably not their number one priority. So, again, that still wasn't enough to stop me. I left the hospital. I spent probably about another 6 months of being 100% sober. Again, something took over. I don't know what it was. Last summer of 2023, where I went on again another bender for probably about 2 months again. During that 2 months, I was in and out of the hospital probably 10 times because of the withdrawals. He tried to stop on my own, but the withdrawals got so bad, and I was scared to have another seizure. So I called the ambulance. The ambulance was probably at my house once a week, if not twice a week, picking me up, taking me to the hospital, then boosting me back to health, me coming out of the hospital and running right back to the liquor store. And even the nurses said it. It's, why are we helping this person that just, we fix him up, put him out there, and he comes right back the same type of way? It was almost like they were getting fed up with seeing me. And at that point, I was diagnosed with cirrhosis of my liver. So my liver is not doing too good right now. Again, I had to learn how to walk. At that point in the hospital too, that was another 16, 17 days in the hospital. I had a catheter in again. I had a diaper on. It, again, was an embarrassing situation. But, again, it wasn't enough. It wasn't working. I was on unemployment. My unemployment was about to run out. I found a job. I managed to stay sober for about 7 months. During that 7 months period, I was diagnosed with osteomyelitis, which is a bone infection, which is primarily caused by alcohol abuse. So my ankle of my right leg was about 3 times the size of what it is now. I had a kick vine inserted into my arm that went to my heart through the antibiotics to hopefully cure this. I was using a cane, going back and forth to work, but I was sober. 8 months later, I'm sitting in my house, kind of depressed, not so much, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna put the movie on. I put a movie on, and the first scene in the movie was someone at a bar, smoking a cigarette, drinking a bottle, wallowing in their sorrows, and it just clicked. And my feet started walking, and there I was going back to the liquor store, which led to me buying 26 ounces when I went there to buy 12. I bought 26 and a 12 because I knew I was going to be hungover the next day and didn't want to deal with the withdrawals. And that led to me calling more people for companionship. This was about a 17-day period of me drinking 60 ounces a day, not showing up for work, and ending up in the hospital again. Ended up in the hospital, had another seizure in the hospital. They fixed me up, and today I am 118 days sober. So this is where I'm at now. But there's other stuff going on. I have hepatitis of the liver, I have cirrhosis of the liver, I have the osteomyelitis, which still affects my ankle. And then I also have, after I came out of the hospital, I was walking up the stairs and my hip basically collapsed. Osteonecrosis is bone death due to blood loss, another disease that is basically caused by alcohol abuse. So my left hip, they say, is stage 4. Stage 4 is as far as it can go, but there's basically nothing left. So I went from being an able body, able to walk, and do everything a normal 35-year-old could do, to walking up the stairs and having my hip collapse, that now I can't walk 20 feet. I use a cane to get around my apartment. If I have to walk more than 20 feet, I have to use a walker. And anything more than that, I'm either calling for a ride or I'm using an electric scooter to get back and forth to work. Thank God the place that I'm working at now understood that I had a relapse. They still have me there. I'm still aiming to hopefully be the manager of the store one day. That's their plans, that's my plans. But I've got to stay sober. And to be quite honest, I haven't found something that worked until this time. I still don't know if I've hit a rock bottom. To me, I've always said rock bottom for me is when I don't wake up. But I started my own thing. This is how Dusty and I met. I started my own thing on Instagram where I'm basically sharing the story of my life to hopefully help someone else who's scared to ask for help, someone who's scared to go into the AA meeting, someone that doesn't know if they have an addiction or if what they're doing is going to affect them for the rest of their life. I've basically given myself a life sentence. I'm never going to get better. They can replace my hip, but eventually that's going to fail. My other hip is stage 1. I've given myself a life sentence that you don't see that out there in the media, in the news. Smoking here in Canada is hidden. You can't go into a store and see smokes on the wall. You don't see movies or people smoking anymore, but alcohol is advertised as a party. And alcohol has drastically affected my life worse than smoking a cigarette ever has. And I just want to help that person that needs help or is afraid to go to a meeting. I thought that doing it through social media is a little bit easier for someone to reach out and ask for help and say what they're going through, because they're sitting there behind their phone. They're not having to go out there in person and have those butterflies of going to the first AA meeting, or, my God, I have to go to rehab and worried about that. They can reach out that way and hear my story, hear what I've gone through, hear the effects that a lot of times is hidden that people don't know about. That, yeah, most people know drinking can hurt your liver. They don't know that it can hurt your entire body the way that it's hurt mine and destroyed mine. So, I mean, there's a lot more in my story than just that. That's the quick little blurb of the last 15 years of my life. I'm going from being a high school student to a 35-year-old man that can barely take care of himself.
Brandon, wow, that's all. That's I guess the first thing that comes. It doesn't do enough justice to what you've gone through. There's a lot of things here to unpack. I've been taking some notes. I guess starting from the beginning, I do find a common theme with. I mean, because again, if the effects of addiction showed themselves at the first moment of doing something that could lead to an addiction, there'd be a lot more sober people in this world, right? But that's the thing. It's cunning, it's powerful, it's baffling, right? And it just sneaks up on you. And then it's got a hold of you. It's hijacked your brain. And to a point where you can no longer function and exist without it. This whole, self-consciousness, not fitting in, getting comfortable, I definitely can relate to that. I, for a period of time, would abstain from alcohol and was smoking daily, multiple times a day. Thought I was doing fine, felt like I accomplished a lot, in my life during those periods. But every time I did go back to alcohol, it was just a rapid descent. I guess one thing that I'm curious to know is that, because obviously with addiction, especially from alcohol, with the way that it does affect your brain, right? The science has shown that dopamine, just gets totally screwed up, right? Just the normal feel good receptors in our minds get just utterly destroyed and downregulated. Have you talked with anybody from a mental health perspective to help you,
So mental health wise, I've seen lots of psychiatrists. I've gone to therapy. To be honest, I never found someone that I connected with, or that I've currently connected with my addictions doctor. that was something that I left out of my story there. I've been to detox here in Oshawa. I'm gonna say two, if not three times, and that's where I met this doctor. She specializes in addiction. I see her every 3 weeks, and she's not a psychiatrist, she's not a mental health person, but she's a doctor. She listens, and from my perspective, she understands what I'm going through. I've been to other doctors that kind of fluff you off, like, oh no, you're just another druggie, another alcoholic. You're always going to be that way. Whereas this doctor listens and is inspiring. She has connected me to other services, which are counselors, and I speak with them on like a monthly basis. But again, I don't know if that really helps. I have been diagnosed with a psychiatrist with anxiety, OCD, a few other things, but I'm not on any medication for that because I found before in the past those medications, they don't make me who I am. They make me feel kind of spaced out, and I don't want to be on medications that alter my mindset. But yeah, when it comes to therapy, I speak to a counselor every month via telephone calls. I have my addictions doctor who I see every 3 weeks, and right now I'm attending AA meetings 3 times a week here in Oshawa, which I like hearing other people's stories to know that they've gone through kind of the same thing that I've gone through. And I like sharing mine to younger people to let them know that, hey, this is what's gonna happen if you don't stop. I mean, in all my years, and I've been to AA lots of times throughout the periods of, well, the last 15 years, I've never seen someone body breaking down the way that mine's breaking down. I've heard of people having issues with certain things with their liver. My buddy lost his dad to a failing liver from drinking beer every day at the bar, and that I've only heard of that. I've never heard of the stuff that I'm going through. When it comes to counseling, I don't know if it really works. I'm trying something new this time. That's why I've gone to social media. That's why I'm happy that I met you, that I'm able to put this out here and share it with not just the people around here, but share it with the world so that people know that this is what's going on, and someone could reach out to me at any time and tell me what they're going through, and I'll gladly listen and help them in the best way that I can. And that's sometimes all that we need is someone else to listen.
I completely agree with you. You know, the addiction is lonely, right? It's an isolating disease. You touched on that with just, you know, the alienation from friends and family. And then ultimately it almost makes things worse, right? It just escalates to want to drink more just to feel better because of the things that have happened in your life. And definitely getting the right people in your life, I found is so important, right? The people that understand what it's like to go through this. One of the things that was beneficial for me, because I agree with you, I had tried medications in the past because I deal with anxiety, and I had really also I've had a couple of major depressive episodes in my life, and the last one was coinciding with my use. But you know, for me personally, having the ability to have a doctor in your life that's going to let you play with medications a little bit. And I don't want that to sound like a loose term, because there are obviously so many different types of medicines out there now for managing depression, you know, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, anxiety medications. There are so many different types of ways that they're now approaching this, because there are so many different things that are helping different people, because they still don't have a grasp on the science yet. But I've had that same type of problem where I didn't feel like myself anymore. And it was just like, well, you know, I'm not going to live my life as a zombie. I'd rather
Yeah,
just, you know, try to go back to live my life the way that I was managing myself. And unfortunately, that was through illicit substances, or, you know, even legal substances, but just in excess. And that, for me, fortunately, one of the godsends was that in the recovery center that I went to, it was a dual diagnosis. So basically they treated the mental health aspect of it. And while I was in recovery, was able to manipulate my medications here and there over time just to see what worked. And I tell you, I found the combination. And it's
Yeah.
such a small amount in my life because unfortunately, yeah, I found that, psychiatry versus psychology are two different realms, right? Because psychology doesn't offer any medication. They're really on therapy through talk, whereas psychiatry is really just trying to fix the chemical issue. They're not going to be there to talk. They just want to sit there and go, tell me who you are and tell me what you don't like about yourself. Let's figure out if you do have a mental health disorder as defined by the diagnostic book, on all these different types of, mental health situations. And let's try to plug in something that's going to go ahead and just alleviate that for you. So I've found, for the most part, most of the psychiatrists that I've ever dealt with are cold. They almost seem cold and indifferent, and they're the one prescribing the drugs, whereas the psychologist has a lot more emotion involved in it. There feels like it's a caring reality. But I've also have met addiction doctors, medical doctors that have been helping people with substance abuse, and they don't have the psychiatry degree or the psychology degree. They look at the whole body, right? They look at the whole body. They look at also, the mental health to a level, and they're awesome people as well because their goal is just to help you feel better, whatever that means, right? So I definitely wouldn't give up hope on that. Keep keep scratching that surface because I tell you, bud, as I've met more and more people, in recovery, there are people that have found the solution, and it's a small pill maybe once a day, and it just lets them get on with life. They
Yeah.
stop thinking about it, the cravings stop, the anxiety stops, just the being comfortable in our own skin can happen again, right? And that's a beautiful thing. I truly commend you because I've found the irony is that in recovery, I've got more friends now than I know what to do with in recovery. And I think that social media is just that. That's the reason why I'm on the platform as well, is because there's there are so many people out there that wish they had somebody that understood them, that are afraid to enter an AA meeting, that are struggling. But all it takes is that one clip, that 10, 15 seconds, and that person goes, they get me, and they gravitate towards you, and it provides hope to let them know they're not alone. So it's definitely something that I'm going to be doing with this episode as well as with the clips, is I'm going to tag you and also let people know, your handles, so that way people can reach out to you directly, through all the ways in which this is going to hit the world on this episode. Because I think that whatever I can do to help you maintain your success and sobriety, but I'm all for it, brother. You've got an ally in your corner, man, and I want to.
100%. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. No, I truly appreciate the courage that you have to do this, because a lot of people would, sit there and go, because unfortunately, I had a therapist tell me, addiction is suicide on an installment plan, right? I mean, it's a scary
100%.
reality, but it's something that it is. And to sit there and go, it's a moral failing, or it's this and it's that, it's so beyond that. Addiction is a disease, without a doubt. I firmly believe it, and it's a powerful one, and it's something that you're unfortunately never going to get rid of, right? So the
Yeah.
best thing you can do is control it, right? And so I guess my question for you now, I mean, obviously you found this source in reaching out to the world and giving back and you're doing the 12th step, my man, right? You're a being of service to others, right? The 12th step of AA, right, is going out there and leading somebody, to greener pastures, at least, being a guiding light and saying, even, in the struggles that you're dealing with, you're doing it, man. And I commend you for that. What are you doing right now when the social media is turned off, when you're struggling to go and get something done because of the physical pain that you have? What are your coping mechanisms now? What are you doing? What's helping you?
Just the fact that I want to be alive. Like,
Yeah.
I want to enjoy my life. I've got my dog here. I've got my dog that I got to take care of. I got my parents that they're my main supporters right now, and I know how much they love me and how much it would hurt them if I was gone. Because I've been there, like you were saying earlier, about sitting on a couch alone. I was quite happy to sit there alone and drink my life away. And it very well could have been. It could have been a suicide by alcohol. Maybe not intentionally, but once I start going, there's no stopping. And now it's just, I get up in the morning, I'm in pain, I can barely move, and it's just, no, I've got to do this. I've got responsibilities. I've got to take care of my dog. I'm not giving up this time. Right now, this is the longest I've been 100% sober from everything in the last 15 years, I would say. I don't think I've been 100% sober from everything this long before I even started touching stuff. So, and it feels good. It feels good to wake up and be sober. It feels good to be putting myself out there, and putting myself out there makes me accountable. It makes me accountable that one more day is another tick on that tally, and I can do it. I see other people out there that are 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, up to 12 years, up to 40 years in AA meetings. But on social media, there's so many people around the world that, well, they've got to 12 years, they've got to 13. That in itself is inspiring. I know you said when that's turned off, but that stuff isn't going to leave my mind when I wake up the next day from what I saw last night on the platform, or the comments that I've got from other people out there that are struggling, saying, you're doing a good job, that type of thing. That still stays with me. That resonates with me. And you can't find that walking down the street here in Oshawa, someone that's going to come up to you and give you a pat on the back every day. You can get that through the social media platform. Whether it's on or off, it's going to stay with you that you had this chat with someone last night for 30 minutes who is struggling, knows what you're going through, and you're both helping each other out. Like here in Oshawa, they call it the armpit of Ontario. They call it the dirty schwa. There's drug addicts. There's crackheads. I've had people sleeping in my backyard. I've had people using my utilities to charge their phones. There's people pushing shopping carts. People living in dumpsters, pushing dumpsters down the street. Addiction is everywhere in this city, and I see that every day. I work in downtown Oshawa, and there's AA meetings everywhere, and I can go to an AA meeting every night and meet people in person, but it's also good to have that social media 24 hours a day. And you say when it's turned off, but to me, it's never turned off. It's always there. I can look at my phone and it's there. I can go on my computer and it's there. And it's always going to stay with me. Those memories of last night are going to stay with me. Those memories from a week ago where I was talking with someone is going to be there, where they said, just keep going one more day. I'm proud of you for doing what you're doing. I'm proud of you for putting yourself out there. It takes a lot to put yourself out there this way. And I'm not trying to hide anymore. I'm not trying to hide in my apartment and drink myself away. I'm putting myself out there so that hopefully someone else doesn't have to hide. Someone else can turn their computer on like I did tonight with you and sit and talk with you. It doesn't have to be posted to a social media platform or anything. It can just be a talk of two guys, or guy and a girl, or two girls talking and going through what they're going through, versus sitting there alone and picking up a vlog. It doesn't have to resort to that. And I'm happy that I found this. This is what's helping me out on a daily basis. I'd much rather sit here with you like this than sit here alone with my dog and not wake up and not go to work tomorrow.
I completely agree, and that's good. That again, because I think the human spirit is relentless, right? I mean, we are constantly trying to find hope. For as much as the social media gets a bad rap, there are tremendous values in it, and I think that that more and more people are starting to understand that. I think there's a search for an authenticity, right? And I think that this is where it kind of shines through. One thing that I wanted to remind you, Bud, was that the first 6 months to 2 years, right? You're going to go through just a whole metamorphosis of change. Your brain's going to get better. You're just going to get well. from the detoxing and everything. And the body is a walking miracle. So don't ever lose hope in that reality, that even though the pain is there, modern medicine, all these things, there are still so many things to look forward to, right? And I guess, one of the questions I had for you is that I agree with you that support from others, that are close in your life, your immediate family is very important. Does your family understand what addiction truly is at this point? Do they get what the disease is and what it's done? Do you have it in your family anywhere else that they can relate to and understand?
So not that I know of. No one in my family has gone through what I've gone through. No one's dealt with addiction. I think my parents, they definitely are starting to understand what it is over the past 15 years. I don't know if they'll ever fully get it because they haven't gone through it. And that's why I reach out to other people. Like, I can see the pain and the hurt in them. They can go, there's Al-Anon meetings. I know my mother's gone to those to try and understand in the early years. I really don't know that they fully understand, but they're fully here supporting me. And I know they always said, not my parents, but like society's always said, don't go into recovery, don't go into rehab unless you're ready because you'll fail. And this time, I think I'm ready because I'm doing it my own way. And I say I think when I really should say I know, but it's one day at a time in this. You never know what's going to happen. I don't want it to happen. And I'm trying it this way this time to stay sober. And I've got the support of my family helping me out. I've got the support of my work. I've got the support of everyone that I met through social media helping me, and I'm helping them. And it's honestly a beautiful thing. It really is.
That's awesome. And yeah, I agree with you. There's normies, right? And then there's the addicts. And unfortunately, normies sometimes just don't get it. I know Al-Anon, the big thing that I try to remind my family of is that there's 3 C's with Al-Anon, right? 1, you can't control it. 2, you can't cure it. And 3, you didn't cause it, right? So there's so much emotional attachment from family that just wants to make you feel better, that they think that just simply harping on you all the time about your problems, is going to help it get better. And the reality is it's just so much more deeper than that.
Even in the beginning, my dad would say, like, I drink beer, but I can put the beer down. I can throw all the alcohol out of my house and it wouldn't affect me at all. And it's like, but you don't understand. You don't understand. There's something different. I can't just do that.
Yeah.
I can't just walk away from it like that. And to this day, my dad still has no alcohol in this house. But I'm still here. It's 2 different people. And no, he didn't cause it. It's just doesn't understand 100%.
Yeah. And I think that's, one of the things that I've been pushing towards as well, because I have it in my family, but immediate family saw what it did with other family members, didn't grasp it, was just pissed that they were that way. And so, I'm trying to bridge that gap as well, of just simply understanding and help them realize, again, this isn't a moral failing. This just isn't a character flaw. This is something much deeper than just, somebody that, just drinks too much. So yeah, I think that we'll continue that good fight, my man. We will continue that good fight. So I tell you what, every day that I stay sober, you stay sober with me. Agreed?
I agree, 100%. That's what we need out there.
Yeah.
Everyone, one more day.
I think, you'll eventually get to the point where the need to count the days won't be as heavy, because you're just going to be living life again. You're going to be living life, be working towards continued recovery, be looking at the things that you get to look forward to, right? Like with the advancement in the job, bigger and better and brighter things. And I got to tell you, can you believe we've basically already been talking for about an hour now. And I want to tell you that I truly appreciate your time tonight.
I appreciate it. I'm not trying to get famous out of this. I'm just trying to help some people. I want to help save someone's life, that they don't end up in a situation where I'm in, that I didn't know that this could happen. I knew something was going to happen, but I didn't know that I was going to give myself this life sentence of my body basically deteriorating, but I'm not dying. I'm just broken, like physically broken.
I feel like there's too much good information that's not accessible or not being told the right way to the people that need to hear it. And I feel like, let's spam the word with the good news that you can recover, regardless of how bad it is. As people that have suffered with addiction, we can laugh about it and kind of look back on it and go, yeah, shit. But, it's still a heavy topic. And it's something that I don't want to linger. I don't want to linger in the past anymore because I recognize that part of that just wasn't me. It was this addiction and control. And so now that I'm regained control again in my life, what is it that I've learned? What is it that I do moving forward with that? I can't get that time back. As foggy or as clear as it is, right? And or as shameful as it is, I can't get it back. I have to be in the present, look forward to the future, and keep moving forward. So, yeah, but Brandon, I appreciate your time tonight. But
yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that I met you and was able to share some of my stories to the world.
Thanks, Brandon. You take care, okay?
Yeah, you as well.
Good night.
Bye now.